Thank you very much. Bales and Sarah, and Rob and Lorraine, and all at Yugal Bar, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honour to play a small part in this very interesting and very important and significant day. I just wanted to make three very, very brief points. The first is to say that it is tremendous to see the beef industry enjoying the fruits, if you like, of better times, and long may they last. The opportunities have to be endless. I was in Indonesia last year at the Indonesia-Australia Dialogue Talks, just to take one of the places where the opportunities are almost limitless. You've got a country there now where 60 or 70 million people, the population of Britain or France, are middle class and looking for better product all the time. And yet they're only consuming on average 2 kilos of beef a year versus the Malaysians next door at 10. It's just an example of the opportunities if we can capture them. That's point one. Point two, though, good public policy will be critical if we are not to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. The ambassador up there last year said that as he moves around Indonesia, the thing that is constantly raised with him is not bugging the president's wife, it's not turning back boats, it's not protesting the death penalty, it's the live cattle dispute. It's unbelievably sensitive in a country where there are many who are still poor and spend up to 70% of their income on food. The spike in protein prices was very difficult for that country to handle. We can't afford those sort of policy mistakes. There's another one, though, that I really do want people to think about. I think it's unbelievably important to our industry. How many of you caught that almost throwaway line from our first speaker this morning from the MLA, Richard Norton? Did you hear him say that remarkable figure, better technology, a 30% reduction in processing and dressing out costs for lambs, swallowed by the increase in energy costs? Energy policy in this country is in a shambles. 10 years ago we had the cheapest electricity in the OECD. We're now double America, double the price of France, and more than Japan, that has no raw materials or essential energies of its own. It takes an extraordinary mix of policy and competence, and I'm not being party political here, because there have been more than one government involved, to get us to that stage, but it threatens our very being. The biggest manufacturing sector, or biggest sector in the manufacturing industry in this country, is food and fibre processing. That's our industry, and every time the costs go up, we lose markets, we lose competitiveness, we lose serious money out of our pockets. It must be addressed, and I do urge farmers to do everything they can to get their farm organisations and their political representatives focused very clearly on this before we snatch, as I said a moment ago, defeat out of the jaws of victory. I can't think of anything more important for us to have addressed at the moment. But my main purpose here today, Bales and Sarah, thank you so much again for the opportunity to spend time with you. We've had many a long conversation over the years about all things agricultural, all things Australian indeed. And I did want to take very briefly the opportunity to salute you both for your contribution at so many levels to this country, but to agriculture in particular as we celebrate it here today. This extraordinary and amazing stretch of country has really only been held by two families, mine and yours, over all of those years. And I've really treasured that link. And as we came up here with the Vickeries yesterday, and we thought about half an hour or whatever it was in Bales Air over the mountain, and I think of my great-great-grandfather with his brother and his sister and brother-in-law coming here from the Hunter Valley, and how long it must have taken them, and how they ever got sheep, let alone cattle and horses, down that range to here. It's beyond me, but they did. And you know, Bales, I think he perhaps ill-advisedly sought to set up a bit of a family dynasty. He wanted to see Yugal Bar be something that was respected and prominent in the Australian agricultural scene forever. He wasn't the first man on the land to bungle succession planning, but the great thing is that, Sarah, you and Bales together and your family have taken this place, this dream of his, to new heights that he could never have imagined. The other thing I want to say by way of tribute to the Meyer family is that when we first started talking about agriculture, it was very tough times, especially in Queensland, drought raging and what have you. And the Myer name for philanthropy is second to none in this country. But as we sat and talked, I remember one occasion he asked Julia and me down to Melbourne to talk to he and some of his friends, the Myers and some of their friends, about the terrible drought and what it was doing, and we're supporting Lifeline today. One of the things I was able to say, because we had some fresh research, is that it plays out terribly for kids when mums and dads are sick with worry about a drought or downturn. They actually take it on in the form of guilt. They internalise it. They say to themselves things like, if it wasn't for we kids, mum and dad could skip, go to the coast and lie on the beach. They're here for us, it's our fault. Kids do that. We talked that through, and the Myers stepped up magnificently with a couple of mechanisms. One of them is Foundation for Rural and Regional Renewal, which we set up together. It's now given out something like $75 million to worthy causes in rural and regional Australia. So, Sarah and Vales, I do want to salute you very sincerely, and just say to you it's an enormous honour for Julia and I here to be with you here today, and to, I think, unveil that little plaque. I can honestly say I do know what it's about, unlike that the Duke of Edinburgh, who's just retired, who was famous for declaring once at a rural show in Canada, I'm delighted to declare it open, whatever it is.